Okay, we shall start off with the class. Okay, any more students to join, or you people are having back exams today? If not, I shall start off with the class. Okay, so today we shall go on with the last topic for unit 4. Okay, after that we shall start off with unit 5. We'll have only 1 unit left then. I also have to explain I think frequency domain. One topic more is left from unit 2, so only one topic from unit 2 and unit 5 is left out. Okay, so I'll complete with the last topic from unit 4 today. Okay, so I hope you people can see my screen. Okay. Okay, so today I shall explain thresholding techniques. Okay, so you already know what is thresholding. So we have 3 important techniques in thresholding. Okay, so thresholding, I'm talking about thresholding in image segmentation. Okay, so image thresholding in image segmentation. When we talk about image segmentation, thresholding consists of 3 techniques. One is global thresholding, one is adaptive thresholding or local thresholding, and optimum thresholding. Okay, so you already know what is thresholding, right? So thresholding means to segment an image. That is, since we are talking about image segmentation here, so thresholding, it is used to segment, that is divide an image into parts. How? By setting all the pixels. One sec. Okay, did it get locked? Okay, so thresholding means you have to segment an image, that is dividing an image by setting all the pixels, that is you have to threshold. One sec, huh? That is, you have to perform thresholding in such a way that you have to set the pixels whose intensity values are above a threshold to a foreground value and the remaining pixels to a background value. That is, you have 2 values for it. Okay, you have 2 values. One is the upper value, one is the lower value. So in upper value, what happens? The intensity values whose threshold values are higher, you have to put it to a foreground value, and the remaining pixels you have to put it to a background value. Okay, so thresholding, you just have to remember that you have 2 values. One is the upper limit value, one is the lower limit value, and beyond that the pixels won't, that is the frequency of the pixels won't be counted. Okay. One sec. Okay. नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम है क्या आज? People are going on and off. Aman, you don't have back paper now? You told me you had back paper. One sec, huh? Let's just do one thing. How did it get locked? I hope all of you are able to join now. Okay, I have unlocked the meeting. Okay, so thresholding, you just have to remember that we have two limits for it: upper limit threshold and lower limit threshold, and beyond that the frequency or the intensity of the pixels are not counted. That is, the in short, the value of the pixels are not counted. So again we have one conventional thresholding operator. Okay, so conventional thresholding operator, it uses a global threshold for all the pixels. Okay, we talk about global threshold, we talk about adaptive or local thresholding here again. Okay, so conventional thresholding operator, what it does, it uses a global threshold for all the pixels, and adaptive thresholding, it changes the threshold dynamically over the image. So these two threshold types have a very have functions like, say, global threshold, that is a conventional threshold operator, it uses a global threshold for all the pixels. That is conventional threshold, we are talking about conventional thresholding operator, it uses two thresholding techniques. There is one is global threshold, the other is adaptive threshold. And global threshold is used for all the pixels. Adaptive threshold is used to change the threshold dynamically over the image. That is, threshold, it will check the values. Okay, then it will put it then it will check the value of the threshold, and then it will decide whether to keep it for foreground value or whether to keep it for the background value. Okay, and this more sophisticated version of thresholding can accommodate changing lighting conditions in the image. That is, definitely it will that is, those occurring as a result of strong illumination gradient or shadows. That is, these two thresholding techniques will check the lighting conditions in the image, and accordingly it will accommodate the that will accommodate means it will place the values of the pixels. That is, it will place the value of the pixels of the image accordingly. Okay, it will first check the lighting conditions, and then accordingly it will place the values, whether it has to be placed in foreground or in the background. So talking about global thresholding now. So global thresholding, it is based on the assumption that the image has a bimodal histogram. Okay, so what is a histogram? You understand what is a histogram, right? So I won't keep on asking. I'm assuming that you know what is a histogram. Please do not forget the concepts. Okay, so now we talk about a bimodal histogram. So bimodal histogram is nothing but it has two relative modes or two data peaks in the histogram. That is, you can see here. So two relatively modes of, that is, two relative modes or two relatively data peaks. So it is obvious that here it is counted as the background and this is counted as the object, and it is image intensity against the number of pixels. So this graph we have already got it previously, right? So do not forget this. Okay, so global thresholding is based on a bimodal histogram. That is, it talks about two relative modes. So two relative modes, that is, say here we are talking about a background and an object, and therefore the object can be extracted from the background by a simple operation that compares image values with a threshold value t of 32, 132. That is, since global thresholding is based on the concept of a bimodal histogram, so it is saying that the bimodal histogram consists of two peaks. One is the background, one is the object. So it becomes very easy for global thresholding because the object can be extracted from the background by using some simple operation of using a threshold value of t 32, 132. That is, it is assigning this upper and lower limit, and beyond these the pixel values won't be counted. So suppose that we have an image f of xy. So this is counted as an image of f of xy, and its histogram is this. So what the global thresholding is saying, that it is trying to separate the object from the background using a simple operation with a threshold value t of 32, 132, and this is the histogram for an image f of xy. Okay, and so this is example of a bimodal histogram. Bimodal because it has two relative data peaks with a selected threshold t, that is, it is using a threshold value of t of 32, 132. So here object and background pixels have gray levels grouped into two dominant modes. Okay, so object has its own mode, background has its own mode, and one obvious way to extract object from background is to select a threshold that separates these modes. Okay, so just remember that global thresholding, it is based on the concept of a bimodal histogram. Bimodal histogram is nothing but it is a histogram which is based on two relative modes or two relative data peaks. That is, this is a peak, right? So relative data peaks, and so global thresholding uses bimodal histogram where we have two modes, one is the background, one is the object, and object can be extracted from background by some simple operation of using a threshold value of t of 32, 132. Okay, so global thresholding, you have to remember two concepts. One is bimodal histogram and one is a threshold value. Okay, so threshold value, accordingly it is using a particular value for this. Okay, this is not by default, it is just using a particular value. You can select a threshold value accordingly. Okay, so thresholded image, that is whatever thresholded image you have got, say the output is, say from this histogram is g of xy. So it can be defined as g of xy equals to 1 if, that is, this is 1 if x comma y is greater than t, and 0 if x comma y is less than equals to t. So this t value, you have to take this value. Okay, you have to consider this value 32 comma 132 and 132, and you have to compare this, and accordingly you have to keep these values here. Okay, so this is very easy. That is it. If you use a particular value, that is if you use a particular threshold value according to the image. Okay, so according to this image they are using this value 32 comma 132. So you have to keep on testing it. Okay, you have to keep on testing it, and you have to use this equation. That is, this is the equation for the output or the thresholded image g of xy. Okay, so the result of thresholding is a binary image. That is, it is simply using binary image, that is, it will be counted with zeros and ones, where pixels with intensity value of 1 correspond to objects. So object equals to 1 and background equals to 0. Okay, whereas pixels with value 0 corresponds to the background. Okay, so now we have a figure here. Say this is a figure 2 which is showing example of global thresholding. That is, this is an original image. This is an original image. Okay, so this is an original image. This is a histogram of the image A. Then this is result of thresholding. It is using a value of 127. So it is using only a single value here. And D, this is the outline of the white cells. That is, these are some cells. Okay, they are showing some cells. They are taking the original image of a cell, and they are computing the histogram of this cell image, and then they are calculating the thresholding with t equals to 127. Okay, taking the thresholding value of 127 and this is the outline of the white cells after applying 3/3 Laplacian to the image. Okay, so Laplacian, we have different types of operators also. Okay, so we spoke about one conventional operator, right? So this is a conventional thresholding operator, and this is some Laplacian, that is, it is a second derivative operator. Okay, so this is a Laplacian operator they are using. We'll talk about Laplacian operator again. So here figure 2 shows the result of segmentation by thresholding. So segmentation, you know now, segmentation means you're dividing the image into some parts. That is, you're segmenting the image into some parts according to the features of the pixels of the features of the parts. Okay, so you're using segmentation. You're just not segmenting the parts here. You're just, that is, you're segmenting the parts using thresholding. Okay, so And thresholding means we are talking about global thresholding here. Okay, so the original image, that is this 2A, it contains white cells on a black background. So you can see here, this is an original image taking some white cells. So this is an image of cells, white cells against a black background. Okay, and the pixel intensity, it varies from 0 to 255, you know that, right? So now they are selecting a threshold value of 127. Okay, so pixel intensity can vary from 0 to 255, but now they are fixing a value of a threshold of 127 here. So 127 threshold value was selected as the minimum between two modes on a histogram. Okay, then in figure 2, on a histogram figure 2b, so now they are comparing this. Okay, so this is the histogram for this image, and this is the result of the segmentation. Here it is shown in 2c. So step by step, okay, you have to take one original image, you have to take out the histogram. So histogram, this is a bimodal histogram because you have two relative peaks over here. So this is one peak, this is one peak, right? And then this is the result of the segmentation, which is shown here, where pixels with intensity values are higher than 127. That is, the pixels the pixels with intensity values which are higher than 127 are shown in white, and lower than 127, these are all black. That is, these are not considered. So it has gone to the background. Okay, and here in the last step, one sec, and here in the last step 2D, that is figure 2D, the edges of the cells were obtained by a 3x3 Laplacian. That is, now they are extracting the edge from this segmenting part. Okay, so they are simply extracting the edges of the cells. So here you can only see the edges of these white cells, and they are extracting edges of the white cells with the help of a Laplacian, which is a second derivative operator, and it was applied to the thresholded image on figure 2c. Okay, so these are some steps, not some steps, these are the 4 steps in global thresholding. That is, you take an original image, then you take out the histogram, that is the bimodal histogram, not just a simple histogram, a bimodal histogram, and then you segment this histogram, and finally you use a Laplacian operator to take out the edges of these white cells. Okay, so step by step they are showing it. Then, so this is an example of global thresholding, and there are many other ways to select the global threshold. So we spoke about one, that is we used some conventional thresholding operator. So here we talk about a Laplacian operator, right? And one of them is based on a classification model that minimizes the probability of error. Okay, so no need for that. Okay, for example, if we have an image with a bimodal histogram, that is object and a background, we can calculate error as the total number of background pixels misclassified as object and the object pixels misclassified as the background. This is not required, you just have to remember a global thresholding using a Laplacian operator only. Okay, then a semi-automated version of this technique was applied by Johnson et al. To measure ventricular volumes from 3D magnetic resonance images. Okay, so Johnson, a scientist named Johnson, he applied 3D magnetic, he applied some operator, that is he applied this global thresholding technique to some magnetic, that is 3D magnetic resonance images to measure some ventricular volumes. Okay, that is to measure some volumes of some magnetic resonance images. He used this global thresholding technique. This is an example. And in their method, an operator selects 2 pixels. Okay, that is one inside an object and one in the background. So same thing they are again repeating. So when the distribution of pixel intensities in the circular regions around the selected pixel is compared, threshold is calculated automatically, and it corresponds to the least number of the misclassified pixels between the 2 distributions. That is, actually Johnson is using this global thresholding technique, but he's also taking another technique within it, that is he's calculating the probability of error also. Okay, so no need that much You don't have to remember that much. You just have to remember this global thresholding technique. If you want, that is global thresholding technique, you know, it is using a bimodal histogram, right? And this is an example taking some white cells on a black background. So just remember this example, okay? And then in many applications, appropriate segmentation is obtained where the area of the parameter of the object is minimally sensitive to small variations of the selected threshold level. Okay, so segmentation is also obtained by various means. That is, say here they are taking the area or parameter of objects, and it is minimally those area or object or the parameter of the object is minimally sensitive to small variations. That is, a slight change in the threshold level also it makes a big difference in the whole area or the perimeter of the object, okay, because it is very sensitive to small variations as well. So suppose here it is showing in this figure, okay, suppose in figure 3a it is showing the intensity profile of an object. So this is taking an object, okay, they're taking an object that is brighter than the background, and 3 threshold levels for segmentation, okay. So 3 levels they are taking now, T1, T2 and T3. So a small variation, that is del T. The del T here they are considering as a small change in that. So a small variation del T in the lowest threshold level, that is lowest threshold value here is T1, okay. So a small variation del T in the lowest threshold value will cause a significant change in the whole area or the perimeter of the segmented object. So this is already a segmented object, that is, it is dividing it into 3 parts, that is just taking 3 threshold values. One is threshold 1 T1, threshold 2 T2 and threshold 3 T3, and a small variation del T, okay. So a small variation del T in the lowest threshold value, suppose here the lowest threshold level is T1, it will cause a significant change in the area, that is the area or the perimeter of the segmented object, and the same is true for the highest thresholded level, okay. So same is true for the highest threshold, that is T3. However, a change of del T in the middle level will have minimum effect on the area or the perimeter of the object, okay. So what they are trying to show here is you can obtain segmentation in a lot of ways, where suppose you want to show it in an object here. Suppose you're taking a segmented object, already a segmented object, and suppose this is the area or the perimeter of the object, and here they want to show that a slight change in the value or in the value of a threshold, suppose whatever threshold value you are applying to the segmented image. So if you try to change the threshold value with a slight variation also, it will have an impact on the whole area or the perimeter of this segmented object. And here they are showing, they are dividing the object into 3 segments, that is into 3 parts having 3 thresholded limits, that is upper threshold limit, lower middle, that is lower threshold limit, middle threshold limit and the upper threshold limit. However, when you apply a small variation or change delta T on lower limit and the upper limit, it will have an impact on the area or the perimeter of the segmented object. But it is showing that if you apply the same del T variation on the middle thresholded value, that is in the middle segmented value, that is in the middle segmented part, it will have a minimum effect on the area. So the object area AT, so they are considering the object area of the object as A of T and the perimeter as P of T. These are the functions of the threshold T that often exhibit the trend which is shown in this figure. Therefore, the thresholded value that minimizes either derivative of AT by dt or derivative pt by dt is often a good choice, especially in the absence of the operator guidance, when prior information on the object location is not available. That is what they are trying to say is, when you are not using any operator, that is in the last example it used the Laplacian operator, right? But here they are not using any operator, they are simply dividing the segmented object into three thresholded values: upper, middle and uh, lower, middle and upper thresholded values. So without taking the help of any operator, any conventional operator, they are showing the change in this object when you are applying some small variation del t on this image. Okay, then a related technique that evaluates multiple thresholds is based on an estimate of the gradient magnitude around a segmented object image. Okay, another way is to calculate the gradient magnitude around the segmented object edge, and this is the equation for calculating this. So you don't have to remember each and everything, just remember what is global thresholding, how it is defined, then when it is defined, and just give this example. Now suppose if you want to show example of a global thresholding using Laplacian operator and without using a conventional operator, so you can give these two examples. Okay, just remember these two examples, don't need to go beyond this. Okay, then global thresholding is computationally simple and fast. It works well on images that contains objects with uniform intensity value on a contrasting background. Okay, so global thresholding value, that is global thresholding technique, it is comparatively fast and simple, and it works very well on images which contains a foreground and a background. That is, it works very well on images which has two bimodal histograms. Okay, not two bimodal, it has a bimodal histogram, so it applies very well on those images which is having a bimodal histogram. Okay, however it fails if there is a low contrast between the object and the background, and if the image is noisy, or if the background intensity varies significantly across the image. Okay, it has some disadvantages. Advantages that it is computationally simple and fast, and it works very well on bimodal histogram, but it fails if a low contrast is existing between the object and the background, or say if the image is noisy, or if the background intensity varies significantly across the image. Okay, so this is about global thresholding technique. Then we have the second type, that is the adaptive thresholding or local thresholding as well. You can say local thresholding as well. Just give me a sec, okay? One sec. Okay, so I hope you understood what is global thresholding. So step by step you have to remember. Okay, so first you have to remember what is thresholding, then you have to remember what is segmentation, then you have to remember what is thresholding in image segmentation and how it applies to image segmentation. So then we talk about the techniques of thresholding in image segmentation here. Okay, so one is global thresholding, one is adaptive or local, and the last is optimum thresholding. So then we talk about the second type, which is adaptive or local thresholding. So adaptive thresholding, it typically takes a grayscale or a colored image as the input, and in the simplest implementation it outputs a binary image representing the segmentation. Okay, so adaptive thresholding is also more or less same as the global thresholding, only that adaptive thresholding, it takes a grayscale or also a colored image. What happens in global thresholding is it mostly talks about binary images. Okay, but adaptive thresholding, it can also take a colored image. Okay, it can also take a colored image, it can take a grayscale image as input, and what happens is it outputs a binary image. Okay, it outputs a binary image which represents the overall segmentation, because we are talking about image segmentation finally, right? So for each pixel in the image, a threshold has to be calculated. So here in adaptive thresholding technique, when you're applying it on an image, on an input image, so what it does is it calculates each pixel in the image. Okay, how? That is, a threshold has to be calculated for each pixel in the image. And if the pixel value is below the threshold, it is set to the background value. Otherwise, it assumes the foreground value. Same thing. Suppose in global thresholding, for that example, we consider a threshold value of 32 and 132, right? So 32 being the lower limit and 132 being the upper limit. So same condition applies. That is, if the pixel value is below the threshold, suppose for example, if the pixel value is below 32, then it is set to the background value. Otherwise, it is assuming the foreground value. Okay. So there are two main approaches to finding this adaptive threshold. One is the Chow and Kaneko approach, and one is the local thresholding. Okay, so assumption behind these methods is that the smaller image regions are more likely to have approximately uniform illumination, thus being more suitable for thresholding. Okay, so what they are using is adaptive thresholding. It mainly uses two approaches to find the threshold. That is, one is the Chow and the Kaneko approach, and one is the local thresholding. And here, assumption is that you the smaller image regions, that is, you'll find a lot of regions in the image, right? That is, after performing segmentation, you'll get smaller image, you will get smaller regions, you'll get bigger regions. So what it does is that these both method, it applies to smaller image well. That is, the smaller image regions are more likely to have approximately uniform illumination. So these two methods applies to the smaller image regions, thus being more suitable for thresholding. Okay, so it becomes easy for these two methods to apply thresholding if it uses these smaller image regions. And Chow and Kaneko divide an image into an array of overlapping sub-images and then finds the optimum threshold for each sub-image by investigating its histogram. So same thing, only in different ways. That is, Chow and Kaneko, what they do, they divide the image into array of overlapping sub-images. Okay, so they divide the image. So image as a whole, it is there, and it divides it into some array of overlapping sub-images. And then after dividing it into sub-images, it finds the optimum threshold for each sub-image. Optimum threshold we'll discuss next. So it divides it into, that is, it divides the whole image into some overlapping sub-images, and after that it is used to find the optimum threshold for each sub-image. And how it is doing it? By investigating its histogram. So histogram also here, it is using the bimodal histogram only. Okay, that is a background and a foreground. That is the object or the foreground and the background. And the drawback of this method is that it is computationally expensive and therefore it is not appropriate for real-time applications. Okay, so adaptive thresholding, see, global and adaptive thresholding, it is almost the same. Only thing is that global thresholding uses simply binary images, but adaptive thresholding can use either grayscale or a colored image as the input, but output it has to give a binary image, and that binary image is representing the segmentation. And secondly, global thresholding, it uses some conventional operator. Okay, it can use a conventional operator, or without a conventional operator also it can show the segmentation of a particular image, right? But in adaptive thresholding, what it does, it mainly focuses on two methods, Chow and Kaneko approach and the local thresholding. And these two methods, what they do, they take up some smaller image regions. That is, when you are dividing the whole image into some parts, you'll get smaller regions, you'll get bigger regions. But these two methods, they apply morely on the smaller image regions, because those regions, they have uniform illumination. Okay, that is, intensity levels in those regions are uniform, and so it is more suitable for thresholding. And then what they do is they divide the image into some sub images, and after dividing the sub images they apply the optimum threshold into for each sub image. How? By investigating its bimodal histogram. But the thing is that global thresholding, it is very fast and simple, and also it is not that much expensive because it is simply using some operator. But adaptive thresholding, it's a bit expensive because it uses two types of methods, that is two types of approaches, and so it seems when they apply these two methods in these images, in the sub images, so these are computationally expensive. Okay, in computational way it is expensive, so it is not appropriate for real-time applications. So alternative approach is finding the local threshold to statistically examine the intensity value of the local neighborhood of each pixel. So no need, so we don't have to use that much, we don't have to go that much deep, simply we can use a global thresholding technique. And the statistic which is most appropriate depends largely on the input image. Simple and fast functions includes the mean of the local intensity distribution. That is what they are saying is, since adaptive thresholding, the first technique is very expensive, so they go for the second technique, that is the local thresholding. Okay, and local thresholding means it is examining the intensity value of the local neighborhood of each pixel. That is, you have a region, and the region you have a lot of pixels, and pixel means neighborhood of pixels, right? So pixel, so you have adjacent pixels, you have horizontal pixels, vertical pixels, so all neighborhood. So it is a neighborhood of pixels, right? And statistic which is most appropriate depends largely on the input image. So simple and fast functions, it includes to calculate the mean of the local intensity distribution. And mean here is, suppose threshold t equals to mean, and median value is t equals to median. So, or the mean of the minimum and the maximum value is threshold t equals to max plus mean by 2. So these are the functions which are being used to calculate or to find the local neighborhood of each pixel. That is the local threshold of each pixel in the image. And the size of the neighborhood has to be large enough to cover sufficient foreground and background pixels, otherwise a poor threshold is chosen. So here when you apply local thresholding on an image, you have to check that the size of the neighborhood is large enough to cover sufficient foreground and background pixels, otherwise the threshold value will be poor. That is, a very poor threshold will be chosen. So according to this local thresholding technique, if the threshold value chosen is a bit large, then only the calculation will be accurate. Okay. On the other hand, choosing regions which are too large can violate the assumption of approximately uniform illumination. Okay, again, if you choose the threshold value too large also, it may violate the assumption of approximately uniform illumination. So you have to choose in between. You can't choose a very large threshold value also, that is a very bigger threshold value also you can't choose, or a very small threshold value also you can't use. You can choose. You have to choose in between. Okay, so this method is less computationally intensive than the Chow and Kaneko approach and produces good results for some applications. Okay, so when we talk about adaptive thresholding, you can go for the second method, that is local thresholding, because it is computationally less expensive when compared to the first approach, which is Chow and Kaneko approach. Okay, then we have another example here, talking about global thresholding. That is, it is used to separate desirable foreground image objects from the background based on the difference in pixel intensities of each region. So same thing it is talking, but in different languages, right? So no need to go through this much. Okay, you just have to remember these examples. Okay, that is, what is thresholding, how is thresholding used in image segmentation. Then we have three types. is global thresholding technique, one is local thresholding or adaptive thresholding technique, and optimum thresholding technique. So global thresholding, it talks about bimodal histogram, then it talks about Laplacian operator, or if you don't use Laplacian operator, you can also apply some without Laplacian operator, you can divide the image into some thresholding. That is, you can divide it into some limits, threshold limits, that is upper, middle and lower threshold and limits. And then you talk about adaptive thresholding. It also talks about two approaches, which where local thresholding is computationally less expensive than the first approach, and local thresholding is nothing but it is used to calculate the local threshold of the neighborhood of each pixel in the image. And these are the functions which you use in the local thresholding of the particular image. And also you have to remember, you can't choose the local threshold, that is the threshold value also you have to choose it very particularly. You can't choose very small value, you can't choose very large value, you have to choose in the middle. Okay, so taking into account all these things, you have to calculate the adaptive thresholding. Okay, so last is optimum thresholding, that I'll discuss in the next class. Okay, so considering everyone is present today, I'll end this session here. Okay, if you have any doubt, kindly tell me. Okay.